Hey guys, good evening and welcome to the IRONMAN Maryland course info, tips and tricks, and Q&A. What I want to do here this evening is share some of my experience as a coach, as an athlete, and an Ironman Maryland finisher to help increase your confidence and reduce your stress as you head into race day so that you can have your best race experience possible so that you can produce your best race results and you can enjoy this process as much as possible because it really is something special. And I would even say all Ironman events are something special, but there's really something that is unique and special about Ironman Maryland. It's the participants, the Krabbies, it's the community, it's the city of Cambridge, and everything there in Maryland is really something neat. It's something unique and special. So you guys are in for a treat. If you've done this race before, then you know that. If you are new to the area, again, you are really in for something special. My name is John Mayfield. I am a full time triathlon coach. I have the pleasure of doing this as my career. I am passionate about working with athletes, especially long course athletes. I work exclusively with long course athletes. I am certified by USA Triathlon at level 2, as well as Ironman U, and I've had the privilege of coaching hundreds of athletes from first timers to professionals and everyone in between. So, again, I just want to share some of my experience working with all those athletes at all these distance races, again, to help you produce your best race results and enjoy this experience as much as possible. So, going to be providing, again, course information, some tips and tricks, and then at the end, we'll get to as many questions as we have time for. Um, every time I do one of these webinars, either headed into Ironman Maryland or the Eagleman race, I always take just a minute to give a shout out to Angie Hinch. She is, I would argue, objectively the finest race director on the Ironman circuit. She's doing an amazing job of filling the shoes left by Jerry Boyle. Just the information that she provides, the care for everyone, her engagement, her accessibility, literally is second to none among race directors on the Ironman circuit. So this is one of the things that makes this race not only special but just a high quality event. So shout out to Angie. Thanks for all that you do. Thanks for the amazing work that you do and the product that you produce. So, as race day approaches, it is going to be critical to stay hydrated. We are going to be talking about hydration several times here this evening. I'm going to probably begin to annoy you. I'm going to talk about it so much. But again, this is one of those lessons that I've learned firsthand, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But it is not only critical that you stay hydrated during the race, it is critical that you stay hydrated before the race so that you arrive there on race morning at that start line in a state of well hydration as well as electrolytes and all that. So, my recommendation for the days leading into the race is that you always have a bottle with you. Throughout the day and just sip on that bottle, preferably water with some electrolytes. We don't want too much water flushing out the electrolytes or throwing off the balance of hydration to electrolytes. So preferably a bottle of water along with some electrolytes there. My preference, what I go to, is I like the vitamin water, and I'll talk just a little bit about that here in a minute. But nothing particularly magic about the vitamin water. It's easy to find. I like it. It works for me. And again, I'll talk one little thing about that here in just a minute. Limit time on your feet. So obviously, you're going to be spending a lot of time using your legs, using your body on race day. So it's important that you don't overdo it in these days leading into the race. Now, you have several things that you have to take care of. You've got to go down to check in to pick up your packet and all of that. Day before the race, you have to go and drop off your bike. One of the things that is a little unique to Cambridge and Ironman Maryland is it is everything is in a very residential area. So it's not like some of the more urban races where there are large parking areas and everything is super easy to get to. Everything is kind of tucked away in a neighborhood. So you have residential streets on one side and you've got the Chop Tank River on the other, kind of sandwiched between the two parks that you go between for your packet pickup, bike drop off, finish line, transition area. All that are between these two parks. Um, so just be aware of that there is some walking involved. So it's not that we are completely avoiding time on our feet. It's managing that and limiting it to what is going to be beneficial and required. It is important to get in those last minute sessions. So get in there, get in those rides, the runs, the swims. Don't just be sedentary in those last couple days. Continue to do those taper workouts, but just be aware and cognizant of time spent on your feet, time spent outdoors. Just make sure that for the time spent outdoors and time spent on your feet, you are pairing that with proper amounts of hydration and then recovery as well. So things like foam rolling, compression boots, massage, all that. Continue that and partner that with the amount of activity that you are getting in those last several days before the race. Check out the course. Now, I will say that Ironman Maryland is one of the least technical courses out there. There's not a whole lot to it, but I'm still a big, big advocate of going and putting eyes on as much of the course as possible prior to race day. Now, great thing about Ironman Maryland is you can see 100% of the course prior to race day, so you will know exactly what you are in store for. You can go out and you can see the entire swim course. The buoys will be out at least the day before the race. So you can see even where those buoys are going to be. You can actually go out the day before or a couple days before and see the area that will become the swim venue. There is a section that is accessible for practice swims the day before the race. It's basically the opposite side of the park from the swim course, but still very, very close. Exact same water that you're going to experience on race day. So good idea to go and check out the water, the conditions, the temperature, all that. Um, Bike course is largely two loops. So the good news, you don't actually have to drive 112 miles. So you can actually go out, drive the entire course in not a whole lot of time, and it's going to provide you a lot of value there. So in this case, we're not really looking for things like climbs and descents because there are none out there. Spoiler alert! But it's good to go and see the course. See where the turns are, see where the aid stations are. Typically, those are marked with brightly colored duct tape on the road several days prior to the race. So you'll know exactly where those aid stations are going to be and just get a feel for what you're going to experience on race day. And then same thing for the run course. It largely meanders around that neighborhood that I mentioned, right there around transition. Maybe this is running a couple miles of the course in those days leading into the race. Maybe it's riding your bike around there to get in one of those last minute bike sessions, as well as just checking out your bike, especially if you've traveled with it. It's very important to ensure that your gears are still indexed properly, your brakes aren't rubbing, everything is working properly there. So kind of kill two birds with one stone there. Check out, make sure your bike is working well. Get in one of those last minute sessions and see and experience the course prior. To race day. Now, this is something that is again largely unique to Ironman Maryland, and I'll say this was probably one of my top pre-race tips is reserve parking. When I raced Ironman Maryland, I was blessed to have the ability to park effectively right across from the transition area. So every time I went down there to like drop my bike the day before to race morning to after the race, it was very convenient for me to have parking right across the street from the transition area. Actually, I believe it was maybe one block, but basically that last block is blocked off. So basically, I was able to park as close as possible. Basically, how this works is there are some local residents that are opening up their yards effectively. And I did see, even in the last couple days, there were some posts to the Facebook groups that were still offering this. So if you have not done that, I would say, here quickly, go check out those Facebook groups, search for parking, and hopefully you'll be able to find someone there in the area that is still offering parking. I believe I paid something like $30, and it was good for the whole week. So it was a great value, and it just made getting down there, parking, accessing the park that much easier. Otherwise, they do have shuttles that run, and that's a great option as well. But it's a little bit more time consuming, a little more logistically challenging. If you can get that parking spot right down there near the park, even from there, it's an easy walk down to the other park where the finish line slash check in, Ironman store, all of that is. You can park in the one location for both of those. So ton of value there. Definitely recommend checking out some of those parking options. Take a note at check-in. Now, this is another thing that is specific and unique to Ironman Maryland. I am not aware of another Ironman race that offers this, and I hope that they still are. But basically, what they do is they have kind of like elementary age students write notes to the Ironman participants, and I'll say it was just so cool. When basically I went to check in, I got my packet. I took one of these notes from a child of the area. I went back to my hotel and I was going through my packet, starting to put decals on stuff and that kind of thing. And then I opened up this note, and I had this child writing a note that was encouraging me and telling me that I was inspiring to them, wishing me luck in the race, and it was just so cool to get that. So I'm hopeful that they still offer that at the check-in. If that's an option, definitely 100% take one of those notes. And man, that's just one of those, another thing that can provide you some inspiration and energy on race day when things get tough on race day, as they inevitably will. It's just another thing you can go to and think about that child that is rooting for you and wishing you luck and giving you energy on race day. There's a really cool welcome social and ceremony that is Thursday, starting at 5:45 at the Hyatt Resort. It's not too far away from where everything else is going on. Not in the immediate vicinity of those two parks I keep mentioning, but still quite close. Some cool stuff there. Recommend going and checking that out. And then to quote Jerry Boyle, who was the well known, well loved race director for a number of years, read the athlete guide. Even if you are a seasoned Ironman athlete, chances are there's one or two little nuggets in there that you will find beneficial. So take some time, take as much time as needed to be very familiar there with the athlete guide. All right, on to the race and on to the swim course. Here in the Chop Tank River, this is actually one of my favorite swims that I've had the privileges of doing. For me, it just passed quickly. I had a good time, and everything just set up really nicely for this swim. So. As we head down to the swim start, the water temperature will be announced that morning. The official water temperature will be taken several hours. Basically, in the wee hours of race morning, the official water temperature will be taken. And generally, what we've seen in the past few years, it has hovered right around that wetsuit legal cutoff. So it is wetsuit legal up to and including 76.1 degrees. If it is 76.2 or higher, the rule states that it will become a wetsuit optional swim. So you can still wear a wetsuit, but you will start after all of those that are not wearing wetsuits, and you are not eligible for awards and world championship slots. So this last year, it was exactly 76.1 degrees. So props to whoever was out there taking the temperature, finding that spot where it was 76.1 and providing for a wetsuit legal swim. Now, a little bit of an exception to everything that I just said. In 2021, the official water temperature was 77.2, so about a degree above that wetsuit cutoff. Now, that 76.1 degree cutoff is an Ironman rule. USA Triathlon, I believe, their cutoff for a wetsuit legal swim is somewhere up of, I believe it's 78.1 or something like that. Don't quote me exactly on that, but it is higher than the Ironman cutoff, and it was above 77.2 where the temperature was in 2021. Now, in 2021, there was a large amount of jellyfish in the water. We'll talk about jellyfish here in just a minute. So, because of the high amounts of jellyfish in the water, they elected to go with the higher USA Triathlon wetsuit cutoff as opposed to the Ironman rule of 76.1. So, um, not to say I would say don't count on that. But if the water temperature is at 76, is above 76.1, chances are it will become a wetsuit optional swim. But the race staff does have the option of extending that if there are a large amount of jellyfish in the water. So basically, those wetsuits were just providing more protection, more skin coverage to deal with those jellyfish that were in the water. So, pro field racing this year. So, that's going to be quite exciting. And they will be headed off at 6:30. The age groupers will start at 6:50. It is a self-seated rolling start. So, what that means is you will line up there on the shore according to your expected swim time. So, basically, what it starts with, I believe the fastest group is 50 minutes or faster, and then it'll be like 50 to 55 minutes, 55 to 60. I don't recall exactly if it's 5 minutes or 10-minute increments, but basically you will get queued up according to your expected swim time so that you will be. The faster swimmers will go first, they'll get out of the way, and then slower swimmers, and then you will be swimming with swimmers that are swimming approximately the same pace as you. So it's just going to minimize the amount of contact and people swimming over you, the amount of people that you're having to swim over. It is a what I would refer to as a beach entry and then a boat ramp exit. So basically, you will wade into the water, and then once deep enough, kind of dive in and start swimming. And then upon exit, it is on a paved boat ramp. So effectively, you'll just walk out of the water. So, a couple tips for the swim start is to get cued early. And this is going to include getting everything done early. Having that easy, accessible parking is part of this. So, the easier, closer you're able to park, the earlier and easier it's going to be to get down there in the morning where you're not having to take the time to park and then wait for a shuttle, ride the shuttle, all of that. So, get down there early. This is going to allow you to get queued up where you want to. The corrals that they have set up tend to get very congested. It can be very difficult to get to the area that you want to or need to if you get down there late. I've made this mistake before. I no longer make this mistake. And part of that is don't queue slower than expected. I've done this as well. I've hung back with either my training partners or athletes that I'm coaching, and it just makes for a more difficult swim. When I've queued up there where my expected swim time is, everything just goes better. I'm able to swim with athletes basically going the same speed as me. I'm able to draft off of them. So it just provides for a better swim when you have an accurate cueing position for your swim. So jellyfish. As we mentioned, we'll talk about this. This is probably the big thing on everyone's mind for the swim. And another thing that is largely unique to Ironman Maryland. I've done several other Ironman races where there can be jellyfish. Ironman Florida can have some jellyfish. I did it one year. Years and years ago, where the jellyfish were just prolific, they were everywhere, but they didn't sting, and they really weren't an issue. I did Ironman Florida last year, had a couple minor stings, but very different than what I have experienced here at Ironman Maryland. Now, I mentioned in 2021 there was a very large number of jellyfish in the water, and that's why they allowed for those wetsuits to be worn above that 76.1 degree cutoff. I did the race that year, so I experienced a very large amount of jellyfish in the water. And I will say, I was a little nervous headed into the race because of that. I grew up on the Texas Gulf Coast where we've got big bad jellyfish that can really do some damage to you. So that's kind of what I had in my mind. And to kind of tell my story, my experience of swimming with the jellyfish. You can see here from this picture, as mentioned, you're queued up on the shore in the park there. You wade in, and then once you get knee deep, waist deep, you kind of dive in and start swimming. There's a little wooden I don't know what it's kind of a little protected area that you'll swim through, and then out there into this. It's the Chop Tank River, but it almost has kind of a bay feel here. Um, as soon as I dove in and started swimming, I hit my first jellyfish, and it wasn't just one; it was several. I did not swim in the area in the days leading into the race just because honestly I was kind of nervous about the jellyfish. I heard lots of stories from folks that had done it. I was down there in the park and people were coming out of the water saying, "Yeah, there were some jellyfish. It wasn't bad at all." So I still wasn't really excited to go and mix it up with the jellyfish. But in the race, I went in, I got stung, I got hit, and my immediate thought was, "Oh my God, how am I going to do this for 2.4 miles?" And like everything else in Ironman, I just said, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to keep going. And that's exactly what I did. So from there, I just kept swimming, just taking stroke after stroke. And yeah, the jellyfish were thick that year. So I hardly went a few strokes without encountering a jellyfish somewhere. I wore a sleeveless wetsuit, so my legs were largely covered, but my arms were exposed. My face was exposed, other than my swim cap and my goggles. And really, everyone's story largely rang true. It was a more of an irritation than a pain. It was comparable. There were a lot of things I heard: windburn, razor burn, sunburn. Again, I would say all of those are appropriate. Descriptions of what these jellyfish quote unquote stings felt like. I never had one that was truly painful. Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, there were a couple times where I had to like grab them and pull them off my face, which was just bananas to think about. I'm pulling jellyfish off my face in the middle of this Ironman swim. But again, like I say all that, but hear this: it was not bad. I had one of my fastest Ironman swims to date. As I said earlier, it actually was one of my most enjoyable swims. Maybe just dealing with the jellyfish kept my mind occupied, and so the time just went quickly. And I actually had a great swim. I really enjoyed it. So on a year where the jellyfish were very prolific, they weren't an issue. I can't imagine there being more jellyfish coming up this year than there were in 2021. According to the charts I've seen, things are trending in a good direction, where the amount of jellyfish are down. But just know there is a really good chance there will be some amount of jellyfish in the water. They're small, they're kind of clear. They don't have massive tentacles, but there are some tentacles there. Again, you can get mixed up in it, but there are some things you can do. Vaseline on your skin. There's a product called Sea Safe that effectively is kind of like the Vaseline. It's just a barrier that is there between your skin and the contact with the jellyfish. But again, don't be overly concerned. I would say it's one of those things, like if you are concerned about this, don't do what I did. Go out there and experience it. Just go and do a practice swim in the days prior to the race. And there may be a little bit of a mark when you get out of the water. There may be a mark for a couple hours. By the next day, I didn't have any marks, any remnants of the jellyfish. So just be aware of that. This is their property. This is where they live, and you guys are just going to be invading it for about an hour to 2 hours on race day. So again, they were there first. It's their home, but they play kind of nice. So. All right, enough about that. As we get out to the actual swim course, it is a two-loop course. It is in a counterclockwise direction. It is brackish water, which basically means it's going to be a little bit salty. It's not purely fresh water, not purely salt water. So just again, something to be there. It is somewhat protected. As I mentioned, it's called the Choptank River, but to look at it for me, it has more of a bay feel. It is shallow. It's wide. It's not any visible current. So kind of for me, it has more of a bay feel than that traditional river. Because of that, it can have some chop. That's largely going to be dictated by how windy it is on the day. So it's not like one of these. Augusta, Oregon, Maine are river swims that are known for a very large current, and that's not what this is. Again, it is a tidal body of water, so it's going to fluctuate with the tides. There is going to be an outgoing tide on race day, so that will affect swimming a little bit, but it's not typically major. So again, go out there, see it, experience it. But as I mentioned, it is a lovely swim. So as I mentioned, you'll start here at Jerry Boyle Park, kind of on the southeast side. That's where those pictures were. This is where you'll wade in, head off towards the bridge that you will cross to get over into the Cambridge area. Great thing about this first stretch is there's a lot of things that you can side off of, including some taller structures that make sighting along this first stretch really, really easy. So it allows you to get into a good groove. You'll make a 90-degree turn, swim a little bit ways, make another 90-degree turn, swim a little bit. And this is where you'll actually turn off. So this is kind of that, what we would see here at the top of the screen, the second red buoy. You'll make a 90-degree turn and begin a second loop. So you'll do that all over. And then instead of turning on that, where you turn before, continue on to the last turn buoy, and then this swim exit is more of the point of the island. That's where that boat ramp is, and that is where you will exit the swim. And now some tips for the swim course. Consider the sunrise when choosing your goggles. So the sunrise will obviously be to the east. This map here is largely oriented to the north. So the east is going to be to the right side. So in this initial stretch, that sun will kind of be over your left shoulder as you make that first 90-degree turn to the left. That sunrise will be over your right shoulder. And then to your back, and then you make the left turn, and it'll somewhat be to your left shoulder again on those into the first loop, into the swim stretches. So this is going to be pertinent, but depending on which way you breathe. But since this is a kind of out and back square shape, you'll be swimming in every direction. So at some point, you will be looking more so at that into that sunrise. It's a 2-loop course, so you'll be doing that twice. So my recommendation is to it's great if you can go do a practice swim around the time that you anticipate getting into the water, so that you can see exactly where that sunrise is going to be and how that's going to affect your ability to sight. So as I mentioned on that opening stretch, there are several structures to sight off of, but the sun will somewhat be in that same vicinity. It's not directly into the sunrise, but the sun will be there. So again, just make sure that your goggles are appropriate for that. Break the course into segments. Now, I'm going to be talking about this, I think, especially on some of these courses like Maryland, where there's not a whole lot to break it up and make the course different. It can get kind of mentally challenging, even boring out there. So just approach the course one segment at a time. How do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So take off just one bite. And this course really sets up for that. I think that's one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much. That's why the time passed so quickly, is I was just able to break this off into many small segments and attack each one of those segments at a time. So it basically on the swim course, it's turn buoy to turn buoy. So we're not even thinking about lap 1 versus lap 2. It's just get me to that next turn buoy. Once you get to that turn buoy, we're swimming to the next and the next and the next. And with this, there's quite a few of those turn buoys. So it's not like a point-to-point swim where your only turn is right before you get out of the water. Lots of 90-degree turns to keep you busy. For me, they just serve as kind of intermediate goals. So instead of having to think about swimming 2.4 miles, maybe it's only 500 yards from where I am to that next turn buoy. I know I can swim 500 yards, no problem. So that's what I'm doing, is just swimming 500 yards over and over, as opposed to trying to think about swimming 2.4 miles or riding 112 miles or running a whole marathon. It's attacking the course segment by segment. Side often. Lots of buoys out there to keep you swimming straight. The best way to swim fast is to swim the shortest distance possible. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So swimming in a straight line is going to produce your fastest swim. How do you do that? By siding often, making sure that you are staying right on that buoy line, not getting off course, not swimming any extra yardage. Faster turnover against a current and slower with a current. So, as I mentioned, there's not really a very strong current, but it's a river and it is a tidal body of water. So there is movement out there. So basically, what we want to do is adjust our swim stroke accordingly. So if you are swimming against either a current or a tide, you're going to need to increase your turnover rate. If you've got that nice classic pool swim, nice long, smooth swim stroke, when you're swimming against a current or an outgoing tide, that is going to actually slow you down. So what you need to do is have a faster turnover that is going to keep your hand in the water more frequently, have more time where you're pulling yourself through the water, as opposed to more time where you're kind of gliding. That it's more the propulsion phase, less of that glide and recovery phase. So just a little bit more, a little bit faster turnover, still maintaining good technique, good form, but we want to just make sure that that hand and arm is always there, propelling your body through the water. Now, the opposite is true when we are swimming with the current. So you can slow that down a little bit more, have that little bit longer stroke, a little bit longer recovery at the front. But just make sure, especially if you're swimming into a current, across a current, that you're increasing your rate to an appropriate amount. Find your comfortable place. So again, with the two loop swim, there's a decent chance, especially for the faster swimmers, you're going to be catching swimmers who are just starting their first loop. So you've got some space to move. Find the place that is comfortable for you. Upon exit, keep swimming until you touch the boat ramp. Now, you've been out there swimming almost 2.4 miles. You're probably done and ready to be over it. So there's a strong tendency for folks to stand up prior and kind of walk out. Walking through waist deep, knee deep water is going to use a lot more energy, and it's just not as efficient as continuing to swim. So continue to swim until your hand touches that boat ramp. Once your hand touches that boat ramp in your normal swim stroke, now you know it's time to stand up. Chances are you'll be swimming through a lot of people who are standing up, running, walking through that water. Take just a few more strokes and keep swimming until your hand touches that boat ramp. Then you have permission to stand up and exit the water. Enjoy the swim. As I said, this one really is a neat swim. So be sure to take it in and enjoy it. All right. Now, as we head into transition, this image is actually an image of the Eagleman 70.3. So it's going to be a little bit different for the Ironman race, but I couldn't find this point of view for the Ironman race, and I thought it was a really good visual of what you are going to experience. So this is Jerry Boyle Park. It kind of serves as just the hub for race day. Obviously, the bikes are there, the swim start, the swim exit are there, and then the run course goes through here multiple times. So I'm going to get a little out of order, and I'll hit on a couple different things. So kind of taking a step back. Down here at the bottom of the picture, you see there's a red arch along that little beach area. That is where the swim start is. So you'll be queued up kind of along the area there, kind of in the trees, in the area, that open field, just to below where the bike transition is set up. So that's where you'll queue up in the morning. The swim exit is out of a frame that is going to be further to the right. So if you see the gazebo there, and then just keep going to the right, there is a paved area over there that is the boat launch. So that will be the swim exit. And then the transition tents have traditionally been set up kind of in that same area, in that paved area. The bags are your bike gear bag will be in that paved area that is immediately as you exit the swim. We have a picture coming up that will show that. And then the run gear bags are traditionally set up kind of in that same area where the gazebo is. So we'll talk more about that coming up in a minute. Bikes are traditionally kind of in that same area, maybe a little bit further, closer to the residence area on along the left side. That is obviously where you'll drop your bike off the day before the race, and then be transitioning. Um, and then the road there that is along the perimeter of the park, that is actually all run course. And traditionally, your personal needs bags have been on that upper side of the road, kind of on the stretch that's along the water there. So as you pass through the park, you will have access to personal needs bags. So kind of, again, getting out of a little out of order there, but just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of point out some things while we are here. So as you exit the swim, again, that's going to be off out of frame to the right. You will come. You will swim until you touch that boat ramp. Stand up. Exit up onto that paved section of the park where your bike gear bag will be. You will have dropped that off the day before the race. You'll pick that up, head into the transition tent. You will transition as needed in that tent area. Then you will repack that bike gear bag with all of your swim gear. So wetsuit, swim skin, goggles, cap, all of that will go back into that bag. You will drop that in a designated area, and then proceed out to the bike racks, and then start your bike along the mount line. So a couple tips for transition: know your locations. So this is going to be, where is your bike gear bag? So make note of that as you're dropping that off the day before. Another one of my top tips is to do something to your bag to make it identifiable. There's going to be something like 3,000 bags that look exactly like yours. There's a little sticker they're going to give you to put on that bag, but this is going to be sitting out overnight. Chances are it's going to be humid. It could rain. I've seen these stickers fall off time and time again. So once that sticker falls off, there is nothing to distinguish it from thousands of other bags that look exactly like yours. So recommendation here is to, before you put that sticker on the bag, on the box where it says to place that sticker, use a Sharpie and write your number on there. That's not going to come off. And then from there, I say go nuts and write that number all over the bag, just so there's absolutely no confusion as to whose bag that is. I like to take it a step further and do something to make that bag identifiable so it catches my eye as I'm running up on it. So what I've been doing for years and years, and recommended literally to thousands of athletes, is to use some sort of duct tape. Preferably something brightly colored. They have some novelty stuff, sports teams, rainbows, unicorns, all that. And I would say just tear off about 6 to 12 inches of that tape and just put it on that bag. Once you put it in there, you'll be able to see it. It'll jump out at you, and you'll just be able to move quickly through transition, grab that bag, head into the tent, and do what you need to do. Pack minimally, so you can only take what will fit in that bag. So don't pack a whole bunch of stuff that you're not going to need, that's going to cause confusion, that's going to cause extra time in transition. So be minimal and efficient in there. and then practice in advance. This is something that we have a tendency to skip over, but as important it is as to be quick and efficient with your time in transition, it is absolutely critical that you make sure that you do everything. So what we don't want to do is have a step in our transition protocol that we forget because we rush through and we haven't practiced this in advance. So know what you're doing in transition, practice it, and then just have it be second nature when it comes to time to race. And then consider a go bottle. So this is one of my favorite tips. I love this. This is something that I implemented, and I think I maybe implemented it for the first time a couple years ago at Ironman Maryland. Is a go bottle. So we're going to be talking a little bit more coming up here about how critical it is to stay up on your hydration, your nutrition, your electrolytes. So you've been out there swimming somewhere probably between an hour and 2 hours. You have not taken in any nutrition, so you're already getting a little bit behind. So it's critical that you get caught up and then maintain throughout the bike and the run. So this go bottle, this is where, as I mentioned, that vitamin water is going to come back in. So one thing I like about that vitamin water bottle is it has a very large mouth on it, so it's very easy to drink quickly from. So I will save two of those vitamin water bottles that I use in the days leading into the race to keep me hydrated. They are going to become my go bottles during the race. So for T1, I will put about 6 ounces of water in that bottle. I will mix a serving of my nutrition, a serving of my electrolytes in there. And then just as I'm transitioning from the swim to bike, I'll grab that bottle, chug it down real quick. And that's just going to kind of kickstart my nutrition, my hydration, and my electrolytes, and just help to replenish what I lost out there on the swim. All right, heading out onto the bike course. It is a beautiful course. It's flat. Again, not real technical, not a whole lot to it. You will start up in town, Chop Tank River up here at the top, kind of meander. You get kind of a little preview of the run course, head out along a neat stretch called Lover's Lane, and then out onto the loop. It starts at the high school there. Around mile 12 or so. So you have about a 12-mile warm up, so to speak, before you get to the actual loop that you're going to be doing twice. So generally good roads. They are relatively smooth. They're fast. Is pancake flat. I don't think you could find a 112-mile route with less elevation change out there. So this can be as it produces fast bike splits, but it can also produce some challenges. So wind is going to be the biggest of those. Obviously, you can see you're largely surrounded by water here. It is a national refuge and there are even spots where even you can tell in times of high tide or rain that the water actually goes over the road. So it is very coastal. Very exposed. There are sections where you'll be going through some wooded areas, but a lot of this is largely exposed. That wind can certainly become a factor. So, a couple tips for the bike course. As I mentioned, stay ahead of hydration and nutrition. Now, this is always critical, and this is something that, in my experience at Ironman Maryland, I learned the hard way. So, do as I say, not as I do. I got behind on my hydration and my nutrition, and it ended up costing me a little bit. I still had a fantastic race, but I definitely left some time out there. Simply because I got behind on my hydration. The temperatures were warmer than expected. We had a whole bunch of sun exposure on the run course, and I did not take in enough hydration and nutrition on the bike course, and so I paid for it later on in the run. But more on that to come. Another thing is to stay cool. It is absolutely critical that you maintain a low core temperature. Once your core temperature begins to rise, your performance will have a direct implication of decline. So weather obviously can change from day to day, but generally this race is relatively mild, especially when you're out there on the bike course. It's not real hot, but as I mentioned, the year that I raced last in 2021, the afternoon actually got quite warm. You are out there starting with the swim, then onto the bike. You're talking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours of exercise that you are doing between the swim and the bike before the run. as you are exercising, your body is producing more and more heat. It's getting warmer and warmer. And again, your body is not going to allow itself to get too hot so that it becomes dangerous and can harm itself. So it is going to limit your ability to continue to perform. So it is critical to stay cool while you're out there on the bike course. So a couple things here is take cold fluids when you have the opportunity to do so. Every aid station I go through, I take cold water. I chug some of it. I spray my face, spray my body. So I'm looking to cool both on an internal and external. And so having that in mind is staying cool as much as possible. Stay aero as much as possible. So that's going to be key to producing a fast bike split. There's not a section of this course that you can't stay aero on, but it is important to take some breaks. There are not a ton of turns out here on this course, but there are a few, and those turns are a great opportunity just to sit up, stretch a little bit, stretch your back, allow your neck a little bit of break from that aero position, especially if you are if your training hasn't been on a lot of flat roads where you spend a considerable amount of time in the aero position. There's a decent chance your neck, your shoulders, your back could become fatigued and even cramp, or could show up later out there on the run course. So make sure that you're taking care of your body out there. And then towards the end, begin to prepare for T2 and the run. So my rule of thumb that I use personally and I advise to all the athletes that I work with is don't take anything in the last 20 minutes of the bike. So what we don't want to do is start the run with a belly full of water and nutrition that can slosh around. We want the stomach to be able to empty and then start again out there on the bike course. So about 20 to 30, 40 minutes out, make sure that you are up on your hydration, your nutrition, get in those last minute doses of hydration and nutrition. And then the last 20 minutes or so, begin to lay off. If you get thirsty, I may sip on a little bit of water. Maybe it's more just a rinse out where I'll take some of that cold water and spit it out just to kind of protect my stomach. And then from there, start to begin to think about what is my transition protocol? What are those things I'm going to do? Match your cadence to your run cadence. So most athletes have a run cadence around 90 steps per minute per foot. So if you begin to match that 90 RPM cadence on the bike, your body will naturally translate that over onto the run, and you'll come out of transition with a smooth 90 step per minute cadence out onto the course. All right. So the process for T2 is very similar to T1. You will come in, hand off your bike, run through the area where you dropped your run gear bag. It's going to be super easy to find. It's going to have your number written all over it. It's going to have your rainbow and unicorn duct tape. So you're going to see it real quickly. You'll grab it, take it into the change tent. You'll do what you need to do to transition from the bike to the run. You will repack all of your gear back into that run gear bag, drop it in the designated area, and then head out onto the run course. So, as mentioned here, a little bit different view of Jerry Boyle Park, so kind of different angle. As mentioned, kind of starting back to the swim start, we can see the beach area there, that little cove that would be to call it the left side of the island. That'll be the swim start. We can now see the swim exit. So that is going to be that lightest color there on the very tip of this peninsula. That boat ramp is the swim exit. So relatively quickly after you come up that boat ramp, that is where your bike gear bags will be staged. The transition area where you will change is next on that paved area. And then once you go from the transition tent to the bikes again will be there closer to the darker residential area. Kind of the inverse of that, as you come in, you will come in at the very top, I will say, of this picture. That is where bike in is. You will hand off your bike, run back towards the tip of the island here, or not island, peninsula, we'll call it. Run through, pick up your run gear bag that is kind of along the path here. Again, kind of where these trees are on the swim start side. Head into the change tent, do what you need to do, and then you will transition out onto the run course. So the run course starts on the paved area and then goes along the side of the peninsula where the swim start is. And then your run personal needs bags are going to be set up over here on the right side of the peninsula. That area over there, that is also where the practice swim is going to be in the days. There's not an organized practice swim this year that I'm aware of, but you do have access to go swim at your own risk on that side of the peninsula. So according to this picture, this swim course is to the left, the practice area is to the right. So that's what I was saying, that it's the exact same body of water. So you're going to get largely the exact same experience, whether you swim on the swim course or the actual practice side. I did not mention your personal needs bags out on the bike course. Those are going to be at the high school, which is kind of the beginning slash end of the loop. So right as you begin to start your second loop, you'll actually ride through the parking lot of the high school, and that's where those personal needs bags are going to be located. All right, out on to got to give my transition tips first. It is no mistake that they look exactly like the transition one. Be efficient, pack minimally, practice in advance, and consider a go bottle. So the one thing that I do differently for my T2 go bottle is whereas in T1 it's 6, 8, 10 ounces of water. T2 it's more like 12 ounces of water. Simply because I can actually make it a true go bottle. So again, 12 ounces of water, full serving of nutrition, full serving of electrolytes. Kind of depending on how I'm feeling, how my stomach feels, I may just down that whole 12 ounces of water as I'm transitioning in the tent and ditch that bottle. Or if my stomach isn't quite ready for all of that, or if I feel like I just want to nurse that over the first however long, I will actually take that bottle with me. So nice thing is I can drink it down out of over however long a period of time necessary, and then I'll just throw that away and ditch it. So um, again, whatever works for you there, but keep that in mind and consider adding that to your transition protocol. All right, out onto the run course. Really neat run course. I really, really, really like this run. And again, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier on the swim course is really being able to break it down into segments. So as you are headed out um, onto the run course, don't think about having to run 26.2 miles. Think about running to the first U-turn point. So as you start there in the park, you'll head out to the south. This is again kind of through first through the park, then through some. Um, these roads are a little less residential as you're running on the outbound side. There will be some residents and residential streets to the right, to the left is the water. There's marina, all that. So some neat scenery. As you make that 90-degree turn towards downtown, it's much more commercial. A lot of great crowd support. That is where Long Wharf Park is. That is where the finish line is. So you'll get to see that lots of times before you actually turn into Long Wharf to head to the finish. But just think about making that first U-turn. It's about a mile and a half away from the change tent. So you'll leave that change tent. You'll head out to the south. A mile and a half later, you'll hit the most fun section of the course. U-turn and head back. So it's a mile and a half out to that U-turn point, and then you'll run a mile and a half back to where you started. Now, from there, you will head back to the north segment, and this is really where you begin to meander through more of the residential area. This is where you'll pass Annie Oakley's house, and then head into the neighborhood where it's lots of great crowd support. Folks are out there with garden hoses and cheering for you. So just a really neat 3.5. So you'll do the full loop 3 times. So you'll head out to the south, what I'll refer to as the more downtown commercial area, and then come back to the park. Go to the north. That's the residential area. Come back to the park. You'll do that 3 times. Once you've done that 3 times, you will head back all the way to that U-turn point. And then instead of going all the way back to Jerry Boyle Park, that is when you'll actually head down to Long Wharf Park and cross that finish line. So that's why I refer to it as 3.5 loops. You will do full 3 loops and then head to that U-turn point and then head to the finish line. So once you have completed your third loop, at that point you're shy of about 2 miles out from the finish line. So that's going to be the loop is right around 8 miles. So you've done it 3 times to put you at 24 miles, and that last little what we call half loop maybe is it's actually less than half a loop, but a little over 2 miles to the finish. So think about that. You've done it 3 times. Now it's kind of a party of that last 2 miles as you head to the finish. It's residential roads, so you kind of know what to expect. Certainly good enough for running. There are some older sections that are more like cobblestone. That's as you head towards the commercial area, but not really any issues there. It is I would say mostly flat. It's uh kind of depending on where you're from and what your training has entailed. You may say it's pancake flat just like the bike. If you've been training in a very flat area, you may say, yeah, there are a couple quote unquote not hills or climbs, but there are a couple stretches where you are running a little bit at a grade higher than zero. They are certainly not significant, they're not long, but I guess I might be remiss if I said it was all pancake flat, because inevitably there'll be somebody who say, "Yeah, I actually did have to run uphill a little bit. I felt it." And yes, you did. You might feel a little bit but certainly nothing extended or steep or anything like that. It is mostly exposed to the sun, so kind of depending on cloud cover and that sort of thing. You may be out there that afternoon into the evening, exposed to the sun. In 21, when I did it last, it was a very sunny day, which it was quite sunny. It was humid. It was warm. All of that contributed to what I said before in making that run quite difficult for me. Your personal needs is in the park, as we mentioned before. So, a couple of tips for the run course: enjoy Poplar. So, Poplar is this little stretch down here at the very bottom. That is, you'll kind of run past the marina, you'll turn away, make that 90-degree turn, and head into the downtown area. That's where the brewery is. That's where the restaurants are. That's where the DJ announcer is. It's a really cool area, and you actually get to experience that 4 times. It's a big energy boost. So again, you'll hit it for the first time about a mile and a half out of transition, and then you'll hit it when you're about a half mile from the race. So you'll really want to take it in and enjoy it on that last time. One of the things that kind of keeps me in it is I'm never very far from Jerry Boyle Park. Basically, as I mentioned, Jerry Boyle Park is kind of the hub of this course. So the first stretch, you run a mile and a half and you run back. Um, it's a little bit longer on the other side. It's more like 2.5 miles, something like that. So you run 2.5 miles and you come back. And then you just do that over and over until you've done the full loop 3 times. So you're never ever going that far away from Jerry Boyle Park. So again, it's break the course down into bite-sized, manageable pieces. It's a mile and a half to the U-turn on Poplar. It's a mile and a half back to the park. It's 2.5 miles to the U-turn, 2.5 miles back, and then you just do that over. So easy peasy, nothing to it. Build throughout each section of the course. So this is where pacing is critical. It's very important. It's a common mistake that athletes make, and the way this course sets up, like we just talked about, from a mental approach, also is very conducive to your pacing. So you may feel fantastic. You've been spinning at that 90 RPMs as you come into transition. Your feet are turning over effortlessly at 90 steps per minute as you're exiting transition. There's a ton of energy. There's crowd. All of a sudden, you're running like 2 minutes per mile faster than your goal pace. Don't make that mistake. That is not going to last. Take it easy. So as you head out to that first U-turn, it should be a forced restraint. It should feel like I want to run faster, and really carry that throughout that whole first loop. Have that feeling of like I could be running faster. And then as you begin that second loop, begin to build a little bit, kind of let go and begin to build your pace. And then on that last loop, kind of let it all hang out. Smoke them if you got it. I've recommended this to hundreds of athletes. I've never had anyone say, you know what, I really ran too slow on that first loop, and I wish I would have gone faster, but usually it's more like I ran too fast, and then I couldn't sustain that pace. I ended up walking or whatever. So utilize the loops and the sections to build your pace throughout. I'm going to say it again: stay hydrated, stay cool, especially on the run. The run is the most quote unquote taxing, difficult of them all. You're going to be burning more calories, utilizing more muscles. Therefore, you are going to be creating more heat. It's also going to be the hottest part of the day. So, all that is going to combine to a core temperature that is rising. As we said before, a core temperature that is rising is indicative of performance that is going to be declining. So, stay hydrated, stay cool, stay up on those electrolytes, and then take something from every aid station. So, one, you paid a whole bunch of money to be in this race. They have this catered event for you out there. So, take advantage of that. But not only that, you can benefit from something at every aid station. So, call it every mile or so, give or take. You are going to either be needing water for hydration, ice for cooling, or a gel or Gatorade or pretzels, whatever it is, you are going to be needing all of those things. So take something from every aid station, even if it is just water to pour over your body. That is going to be beneficial. And then plan out those aid stations as well. Don't get there and just say, maybe I want an orange, or maybe I want a pretzel, or maybe some water. As you are approaching, you're going to be able to see them off from a distance. Think about, okay, what do I need? What am I going to take from this aid station? Is it water? Is it a gel? Is it maybe just a cup of ice that I'm going to pour down my kit because I'm beginning to feel hot? Plan it out as you approach, and then execute onto there. All right, on to the finish line. This is what it is all about. Ironman Maryland has an amazing finish there. Great crowd support. Every Ironman is special and unique. So this is what you have worked for. This is what you've been dreaming about for months. The blood, sweat, the tears, all of the hours of training are all going to be worth it as you approach this finish line. So a couple tips as you finish: clean up, wipe away the snot, the blood, all of that. Make sure to take it all in. Be present. One of the mistakes I see a lot of times are athletes that just go into a dead sprint and run across that finish line as fast as possible. Um, maybe that's your style. Maybe you're seconds away from a PR or a cutoff or a world championship slot. By all means, get across that finish line. But I think you would agree afterwards that it was worth it to just slow down a little bit, be present, listen for your name to be called, high five everybody in the area, find your support crew, give them a hug, and really take it all in. Plan your finish. This is something you guys are really close. You don't have that many workouts left, but this is a great thing to think about as you're out there doing those last couple workouts. Think about, what does the finish line look like for you, and then find some space. Triathlon is an individual sport, so when you cross the finish line, you don't want your finisher picture marred by some guy who's standing right in front of you. So you deserve it. This is your stage. If you're kind of clustered up with some other folks, maybe just hang back a little bit, let them go, let them have their time, and then find some space for you. And then I just love heading down these chutes, giving out all the high fives to the kids, the spectators, my support crew. But that said, do whatever it is that is for you. All right. So here we have a picture of Poplar athlete giving a kiss to one of the kegs. As I mentioned, the brewery is right there. That is there to the left. So as you approach this U-turn there, it gets rowdier and rowdier, as you can imagine, as the day goes on. There's an announcer right there, tons of energy. So this is that stretch that is really super cool. I had promised time for questions, but I've actually used up all of our time. I know you guys are tapering triathletes. I don't want to keep you up any later than necessary. Y'all need to get to bed. So all of the questions that I have, I will respond to you via email. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is john@tribetriathlon.net, and I will get a response back to you. I apologize for going long. Kind of sorry, not sorry. I love this race. I love talking about it. I hope this hour has been beneficial to you. I hope you've picked up some tips. I hope you have an amazing experience. I hope you take it all in for what it is worth. So, all the best to you. Enjoy these last couple of days and go be an Ironman.